weird. It's weird enough that even Rocket has been part of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics. The studio was reluctant to include him in the movie, worried they weren't going to be able to pull it off. Even Marvel doubts itself sometimes. The character has been a runaway hit. But early concept art for the character reveals a numpier, more slovenly Rocket that looks a bit like he's been left out in the rain. Fortunately, again, they went closer to Rocket's comic book look, though less formal. If male superheroes can get stuck in the costume rut of long johns and speedos, the go-to for a basic superheroine suit tends to err on the side of Dan skins and some fancy headwear. That's certainly the case for the Avengers' Hex Magic Welding member, the Scarlet Witch. It's another comic book look that wasn't going to translate well into live action, especially her outlandish headgear. Among the people who weren't a fan of that look was Scarlet Witch actor Elizabeth Olsen, who noted to Seth Meyers while she took ballet it was not a confident look. Which is not to say that Marvel and concept artist Andy Park didn't explore options, including one that reduced the massive headpiece into a more manageable headband. It also featured a red and black sleeveless bodysuit with long gloves. The end result turned out to be pretty far away from both concepts, with a red corset standing in for the body piece and a red jacket replacing the more flamboyant cape, leaving that kind of superhero affectation to her android boyfriend. She has yet to sport anything really resembling the iconic headgear she wears in the comics, but she also has a...
How'd you come up with all these elaborate backstories?
Glad you asked. I got help from a pro. My financial professional even explained how Nationwide Solutions could help Mr. Paisley retire early.
I'd spent more time with his pal Peyton, right?
I'm glad you feel that way.
Own series coming up on Disney Plus and a role in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, so who knows? She may just yet. Changes aren't limited to looks when a character makes a transition to the big screen. Personalities can change as well as abilities or even origins. Mantis went through all those changes in her debut on the big screen in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. In the pages of the comics, she's an earthbound martial artist raised by a free religious sect in Vietnam, where she was groomed to be the Celestial Madonna, destined to give birth to the Celestial Messiah, with the oldest living Kotini, a race of beings the Kree tried to wipe out in a contest created by the Skrulls. We did say that things get weird in the cosmic end of Marvel, even when there's Earthlings involved. In the MCU, she's a ward of ego, and able to detect and alter people's emotional state and emit the powerful beings to sleep, as long as you don't repeatedly punch them in the face. Quill. Original concept art, again by Andy Park, had a more insect-like influence, and yellow skin that had been approved, but changes were made during the actual costuming to fit her more innocent portrayal. Batman has the Joker, Superman has Lex Luthor, Spider-Man has the Green Goblin, and for the Avengers, this signature villain is Ultron, at least in the comics. In the MCU, he was one and done, though the damage that he has caused during his brief time against Earth's mightiest heroes sent ripples throughout the MCU that meant that the team was not ready to face the universe-sized threat of Thanos. Originally, the creation of Hank Pym, Ultron was created to help protect the world, just like Tony Stark's Ultron. And just like Tony Stark's Ultron, the angry android takes an odd and destructive approach to how to best do that, mostly by killing the Avengers and a bunch of others. One of the things that makes Ultron such a formidable foe, and so persistent, is his habit of making several copies of himself that he downloads to when the body he's in gets destroyed, as well as using those clones of himself to overwhelm the Avengers. In Age of Ultron, we did get to see Ultron's use of superior numbers, but according to concept art by Phil Saunders, they considered taking the Voltron approach and having the various Ultrons form one big Ultron. During World War II, Captain America was accompanied by his wide-eyed teenager Bucky Barnes. For some reason, Golden Age superheroes thought nothing of taking minors along with them to fight crime and Nazis, with nothing more than a plucky attitude and a domino mask. It was a strange time. But then Cap went in the ice and Bucky was assumed lost forever. In fact, it used to be said that he was one of the only exceptions to the no one stays dead rule in comics. He wasn't. But before Bucky came back from the dead, Cap got a more age-appropriate crime-fighting companion in the Falcon, who was more a partner and guide to the modern world than sidekick. Concept artist Josh Nizzi was tasked with coming up with a more modern and military look for the wingsuited hero for Captain America the Winter Soldier. One of those designs featured a more minimalistic approach to the wings. The wings are actually an apparatus that supports several smaller feather wings that would help Sam change direction while in the air. The final design featured a more wing-like look that the Falcon could both use as protection and as weapons. Plus, it kept with the gimmick. Everyone's gotta have a gimmick. In a way, Vision is one of the oldest Marvel characters there is, being beat out only by Kazar and Namor the Submariner. Sort of, technically, but not really. That's because in the comics, Vision is a copy of the android Human Torch that Ultron finds and reactivates in order to attack the Avengers. While the Human Torch android does exist in the MCU as a bit of an Easter egg during the World's Fair in Captain America the...
What? No, I didn't call for you. Damn. What? What?
Lucas,
Yeah?
I'm just walking the dog.
Okay.
Alright, be
Love-
upstairs by 4.
No.
And
Love
I'll
you.
be right there. Bye.
First Avenger, that's not where Ultron gets the chassis that eventually becomes Vision. This time he's meant to be the ultimate upgrade for Ultron, before Stark and Banner upload Jarvis and Thor gives him a jolt of lightning. In the comics, Vision sports a festive seasonal red and green with a high collar. Early designs by Ryan Meendering toyed around with different themes, including this more minimalistic look with no green, but copious amounts of white instead. The design also did away with Vision's cape. The end design went for more muted colors that hints at the comic book Vision's more flamboyant design, and keeps the cape because Thor made it look so good. Thor makes a lot of things look good. It's his other superpower. Captain America is a pretty outsized hero with his stars and stripes and mighty shield. When the red and white and blue came through, it's usually through some pretty colorful villains as well. It's not just Red Skull either. Another big Captain America bad made it to the big screen in Civil War, and is one of the only people to crack up a W against the Earth's mightiest heroes. That villain was Baron Zemo. In the comics, Zemo has a colorful look to go with his colorful personality. It starts with a purple sock cap topped with a crown, and ends with his weapon of choice being a longsword. When the MCU went to adapt his iconic villain for Civil War, they explored some variations of Zemo's comic book look. Ultimately, though, they went with no costume. Helmet Zemo was a regular guy with a grudge against the Avengers, and EKO Scorpion training to drive a wedge between them, destroying them from the inside. Being a villain that didn't suit up made his success at tearing them apart work so well. But fear not, he's back in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it seems like he has a taste for sock caps now. That's some of the concept art that we didn't quite get in the movie. What are some of your favorites? Would you want to hang out at...
Mom, I need the new LeBron Jameses. Stop calling them LeBron Jameses and just call LeBron. We're in high school now. We can't be losers anymore. Why?
Did you eat the lunch I made you? It was lamb stew.
Dude.
The new Mortal Kombat trailer just dropped, and it had everything. Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Jax, Sonya Blade, Raiden, Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, and... Wait, what? What do you mean Johnny Cage isn't in this movie? Well, who else did they cut? Oh, what were they thinking? Cutting Johnny out of a Mortal Kombat movie? I mean, they got all the OG characters, including Reptile, but they cut out Johnny?
Johnny Cage dies? Is someone high?
Is it even Mortal Kombat if Johnny doesn't do the splits and punch someone between their legs? That's a trick question, because of course it isn't. To be honest, I think he has to be in it in some way. The action movie star turned fighter for Earthrealm has been a mainstay of the series since the beginning. Surely there'll at least be like a movie poster or a screen in the background playing one of Cage's films. I mean, even Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge had Cage played by Joel McHale. Surely they're just punking us, right? Well, I guess it is possible that the mysterious new character Cole Young could eventually take the screen name Johnny Cage, but that seems unlikely. I think he may end up being Sub-Zero's son or have some relation to Shao Kahn. If they had room to introduce an entirely new character to the franchise, they better have included Johnny somehow. Is it too much to hope that they're hiding a Ryan Reynolds cameo as Johnny? Tell me it would be perfect.
Well, we don't have that kind of money.
Okay, so this one features a lot of personal bias. I have always loved the fighter noob Cybok. I used to absolutely wreck people using his brutal teleportation attacks. He would make for a wicked adversary in the Mortal Kombat movie, even if they only needed him to fill some time. Imagine that Nightcrawler sequence from X2, but a full R-rated version. That is the kind of carnage this movie. In fact, if we see Scorpion truly take out the original Sub-Zero so that Cole Young can become the second Sub-Zero, it would be the perfect way to introduce Cybot. You see, for those that don't know the lore, Noob Cybot is actually the Sub-Zero from the first game made into a Wraith. Seeing as Joe Taslim is officially playing the Bi-Han version of Sub-Zero, it seems like all of my Noob Cybot dreams have a pretty good chance of coming true. Unfortunately, I don't think the fatality where you get to disembowel someone and then send your shadow into their guts to rip them open from the inside will make it into the final movie. And we can't even show that on YouTube, so instead, here's a clip from MH Animations showing Noob fighting in Minecraft form. Violence is so much more wholesome when it's pixelated and cute. For those who watched the original Mortal Kombat movie, you might remember that Kitana was a pretty important character. For those who just watched the original and never played the games, however, you might not know that she's also a pretty impressive fighter. I mean, seriously, they didn't even give her fan blades in the movie. That's like the whole point of having Kitana. There are a ton of actresses who could play Kitana, too. Personally, I think the voice actress Karen Fukuhara would be perfect for a Mortal Kombat film. We already know that she can convincingly beat people up and handle Kitana's dramatic backstory. She is the stepdaughter of the evil Shao Kahn and the real daughter of Sindel, one of Mortal Kombat's recurring villains. The relationship between Sindel and Kitana, her romantic past with Liu Kang, and her friendship with bodyguard/assassin Jade make for quite a bit of drama. It's kind of surprising the film isn't using it. Not to mention the fact that she's one of Melina's principal rivals, since she's in love with Kitana. I mean, Melina is in the movie, so it's kind of weird that Kitana wasn't at least mentioned. Though, I'm pretty sure the movie's going to be like 98 watching. I mean, that's probably the way Mortal Kombat really should be. Mortal Kombat is just as well known for its hideous monsters as it is for colorful games that just spinal cords. Now, we've already seen that Goro and Reptile were in the film, so it would only make sense to feature old knife arms in it as well. Baraka is a Takagi, one of the main races of Outworld, which Shao Kahn rules over. And you know them from the pretty monster smiles like the one Melina sports in the trailer. There's a reason why Melina wore a face mask long before anyone else did. Exploring the Tarkatans like Baraka, the Shokins like Goro, and the Centurions like Motaro was thrown out the world to give them more story to work with and potential scenes. It would be interesting to see the species fleshed out on the big screen. Really though, all you need to know about Baraka is that giant knives poke out of his arms, and he stabs people with them. He's a simple guy with simple, stabby tastes. There are few characters after the original trilogy that have made further impression on the Kenshi's. The blind assassin who was introduced in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance and has been a mainstay of the series ever since. It's not hard to see why, as he basically looks like you put Daredevil and Solid Snake into a blender and then gave him a samurai sword. I mean, that alone should be enough to give him a big screen appearance. Did the makers of Mortal Kombat miss Donnie Yen's